Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello MJ friends, checking in on the Canadian sector here. We'll look at the US sector tomorrow. So you can feel the sentiment shift in the air today, very palpable, but everybody owes a big thank you to APHA for their earnings report. Big surprise, and the market responding accordingly. Of course, not only with APHA, with a huge gap up open and continued strength throughout the day, but also the other names who saw some upside as well. Keeping in mind, of course, that we always have to counter our excitement. Yes, it's worth getting excited. Yes, it's worth having a bullish game plan for looking at the shift from the summer lulls, but we have to see daily trend changes, and we have to see what these earnings are going to be for these other companies. We've got CGC, Kron, Hexo, all these names coming out with earnings in August, and it's pretty much going to be a kind of scenario where if these bigger names disappoint, then that could suck a little bit of the wind out of the momentum that APHA has started. Or if they beat and have some surprises as well, that could be easily marking the bottom as far as that shift. So we can see names like CGC, a complete turnaround with the low of the day close yesterday and the high of the day close today. So that just shows you that sentiment shift on a dime. But again, bigger picture, anything under 36.31 is just a lower high. That's still over 10% away. If the bulls are going to change this trend, in my opinion, we're going to bounce and top out. We'll be watching the daily exponential resistance, which has been resistance for 6 weeks. And we would have to bounce and top out, form a higher low, and then break resistance. Keeping in mind that psychologically speaking, we're now going to be looking at bulls potentially getting excited for these earnings, where they might look to hop in the couple days preceding those earnings. So keep an eye out for that as well. We're going to be watching to see if this has been enough of a bullish reaction from APHA that everybody's going to say, wow, 40%, I want those gains. I'm going to get in CGC before CGC's earnings come out. So that's the kind of psychology that goes on in markets, and that's something we're going to be keeping an eye out for as well. Another thing that's notable for me is the S&P 500 has been extremely weak the last 3 days. That's almost a sigh of relief for me personally, because again, I constantly am asking myself, if we're this weak right now with the S&P 500 at all-time highs, what's going to happen when we see the inevitable weekly consolidation that's due in the S&P 500? And fortunately, the market the sector completely disregarded market weakness today, and it's a sigh of relief. I am less concerned about what the overall market's impact will be on the MJ sector because we have cooled off for 3 days, and yes, we could see further downside in the S&P 500. We could get, another 5% pullback and still be in a weekly uptrend. But again, it's a sigh of relief for me that everything's fine now that we have some more serious pullback in the S&P 500. And again, watch those market videos that I do daily to have a pulse on what the overall broader market is doing. So looking at Kron, same thing. Significant bounce. Anything under 1569 is just a lower high. My focus is now on US MJ, but Canadian MJ, there's definitely plays as well. Anything under 1569, lower high, and the bulls are going to have to pull off an inverse head and shoulders pattern, in my opinion, if we're going to change the trend. It would have to look something like this, wherever we top out, form a higher low, and then change that trend. Again, still multiple days away, probably 4 days at the soonest, before we could see a daily trend change on the majority of these names, which are trying to respond bullish to APHA earnings. Keeping in mind, we have the Canadian sector closed on Monday, so that's going to make things interesting to see what the US side thinks of all this. APHA, again, congrats to the bulls, wiping out multiple months of weakness in 1 day. So, again, if you saw Midas letter, which I was on today, what's more important to me than how significant this bull run is what does consolidation look like after this bull run, and can we change the daily trend? Because again, I want to see, to have confidence in follow through, wherever we top out, we have to see a higher low form and then continuation. If we do not see that, we do not change the trend, and we could just end up fading. I am confident that this time around the bulls can change this daily trend, but we get a lot of information based on what consolidation looks like. Let's say this was our top, 745. After hours, we are down a little bit, down at 727. We dropped to 715. Not huge, not much going on, and certainly not enough information for us to say this is our top. But for example purposes, let's say that we topped out at 745. If we pull back to 7 and then break 745, that's best case scenario for the bulls. That keeps pressure on shorts. Anybody that enters bearish and says, oh, this move is way overdone on that consolidation, then they're in the red. And those people have to cover their shorts, and they add fuel to the fire. And of course, it shows us that bulls are buying that dip as well. If we were to pull back from this top and pull back to 650, then there's the scenario of the potential equilibrium and a lot less confident in the ability to just see a continuation move. So we had bullish news on Curaleaf on the US side of things, and we still have not changed that daily trend. We ended up pulling back too far, and it has resulted in an equilibrium. We could break the equilibrium bullish, but an equilibrium is a much different setup than a continuation consolidation pattern. So that's what I'm watching for on APHA, and also going to be watching for, is APHA now going to be a leader for CGC, Cron, ACB, and the major Canadian MJ names, at least for the next few days. Resistance from here, 745, 760. 768 is the level. That is the level because that is the highest price that we have seen in the last 3 months. But not only that, that is the clear rejection price. Remember this big, long, drawn-out equilibrium that ended up breaking bearish? If we get over this level, there is a nice lack of resistance over that mark. The weekly time frame. So odds are very high that APHA at this point has set our monthly high or low. And now the question is, do we set an equilibrium? We have our top up here, low of the dump, lower high, higher low. Anything under 1095 is just a lower high. That's still a ways away. That's a 50% plus move away. So it is possible heading into the fall with the monthly setups. Like I've been saying forever, we're looking for monthly higher lows in the vast majority of NJ names. But the question is, do we form an equilibrium into the fall and into the end of the year? Or can the bulls see bull breaks? So if we are unable to break that monthly resistance, we'll have our higher low, lower high. We'll look for a higher low into the winter. And then the new year is going to determine which direction this equilibrium on the monthly time frame will break. Bulls would hope to just get that right out of the way and break 1095 on a fall run. That's possible as well. That remains to be seen. All depends on whether or not we can change the daily trend and get continuation one step at a time. And of course, we need to change the weekly trend as well. A weekly higher low and a higher high will increase the odds that we could potentially break 1095 a lot as well. And again, just on the weekly perspective, you can see how breaking this 768 level really opens things up a good bit for this weekly chart as far as previous price resistance goes. ACB, short-term resistance here is going to be 643, but really the most important level for me where we had the clear bounce attempt and the clear pivot point was 746. So I'm personally going to consider anything under 746 a lower high, and we're going to form a lower high compared to that level. The question is, can we change the daily trend? That has been the question for these names for months and months, 3+ months, where we have not changed daily trends. It's up to the bulls, now or never. Well, now or 2 months from now, change this daily trend, prove a shift in momentum, give us bull crosses of these exponential moving averages on the daily time frame. And I'm speaking to everybody, even APHA. Change that daily trend. TLRY, very nice volume and close at the high of the day. Anything under 45, 48 is just a lower high. That's in striking distance. And don't lose sight that TLRY is a step ahead of everybody else, already forming its weekly high or low. So it certainly looks like the weekly high or low is now set at 39.31. And if the bulls can break 51.03 in the next 2-3 weeks, that'll be very notable. We have C-Web on the US side of things already changing its weekly trend. It's really the only name that's done so out of the major names here. And if TLRY can do it, again, everybody's on the same team as far as sectors go. And I know social media loves to harp on one name and fall in love with it and then trash everybody else. It's so counterproductive. If I'm in CGC, I want to see TLRY change this weekly trend. If I'm in ACB, these APHA earnings are good for me. So quit fighting. So TLRY 5103, that's the level. CTST, some rumors, some bullish action, gap down open for buying here, but essentially, hostile takeover rumors or who's going to buy these assets. Is APHA interested? is, I forget the other ticker that's in the mix as far as rumors, ALEF, I believe. But short-term resistance, if the bulls can break 247, they'll prove something. If they can't break 247, they don't prove a thing. 247 and then 260 are the first levels we're watching, and new support down at 196 after holding the low of this move. Bulls need to follow through. And of course, we have to be watching hourly time frames. I didn't look at the hourly on all these charts. Some names do have hourly supports established today. Of course, APHA, with its bull move all day today, didn't really establish any clear hourly support. So we can assume that the next time we consolidate, an hourly higher low will form, and the bulls need to keep these hourly uptrends in control to see these daily bounces get any follow through. OGI barely clinging on to support, but it is. 735 still holding. And the bulls need to turn around and break 797. We'll call it $8. Bulls have to hold 735 and break $8 to keep alive the chance, or I should say the potential, to change the trend and shift momentum. Hexo. So I was stopped out of Hexo yesterday when 412 broke. And it's, I could look at that and say, darn, I shouldn't have stopped out. I made a mistake. That's not the way I look at it at all. Number one, it saved me a 4% drop that day, which was nice. But if we had a bearish reaction to APHA earnings, I would be very happy that I stopped out. It's the bullish reaction that led to this move. So again, it was a bit of a gamble. And by protecting myself from Hexo, I then put cash to work in TRUL and Curaleaf, both which are in the green right now. So in the end, very similar results, but always will remain protective and protect my positions, as that's how we keep from bag holding. So daily higher low is clearly established at 394. We did break 444 today, but only by a penny. That's a double top, and look where we're hitting. Daily exponential resistance right there, and we rejected today. So we need a green day on Monday to get follow through over that double top, and the next clear resistance level will be 5 and 515, but this is the first shift on the daily time frame, the first thing that we could call even resembling a daily trend change in a very long time, multiple months. So this is notable. Just need a bit more follow through. Get over 450 and we'll call it a clear daily trend change, and then we'll see about these exponential resistances and see if those can turn into supports. VFF continues to stand out. Lead Canadian MJ bull, of course, aside from APHA at this point. 1206 resistance, we got right up to it at $12. After 1206, we're looking at 1249. We have a very clear daily uptrend intact. Our more recent higher low was now $11. Keeping in mind that the weekly chart is likely to just set a lower high compared to 1386. But again, as far as development of these weekly trend changes that everybody's looking for, TLRY is some of the furthest along out of anybody. VFF is probably number 2. So again, already seeing the weekly bounce take place. You look at Cron or CGC or anybody else on the weekly, these bounces haven't even started to set some lower highs. So VFF creating some nice space to form a weekly higher low. We will only look for the weekly top to be set when we lose the daily uptrend, and the daily uptrend is easily intact. Bulls really want to break 1206 convincingly on Monday on the US side of things and keep this move going. Bull cross of the 12 and 26 period moving average. I look back and I say, well, the last time we had that bull cross, it didn't really mean much. So it means less on VFF than it does on a name like CGC, which has not seen that bull cross take place in, well, bad example. But another name that hasn't seen that bull cross take place in a long time, and there's plenty of them out there, then that is a more meaningful cross for me as opposed to a name. Just like RSI, if I look back historically and a name has hit 20 RSI on the daily time frame 4 times in the last year, then I know 25 RSI doesn't mean a whole lot. But if I look back and say and see that the RSI has bounced off of 25 the last 4 times in the last year, it's much more meaningful. So different indicators mean different things for different stocks based on how they respond historically. Where are we? TGOD. So you can call that a daily trend change on TGOD. Higher low set at 282, bull break over 307 for continuation. Still a very clear resistance at 330 that we're keeping an eye on, but the weekly bounce starting to get underway. I would consider anything under 428 a weekly lower high, so we're nowhere near changing that trend. But if the bulls can break 330 this coming week, they'll be serious, in my opinion. And then we'll look at 340 right after that. But again, exponential resistance, we've gotten right to this 26 period exponential resistance multiple times with the inability to close over it. And again, look at this move. We didn't cross bullish. We rejected. So if we get a bull cross here and a break of 330 and 340, that will be notable. Last time we had a bull cross, there was significant follow through. So again, no little fake out like some of the other names had that we just looked at. So it'll be more meaningful for the cross on a name like T-God. And again, the must-hold support level from here on out, 282. Certainly big red flag for bulls if 282 were to break. Any name that is not seeing a rally today, that's a red flag. VGW breaking a double bottom and closing at the low of the day, red flag. So I'm not sure what's up with VGW, but to not participate in this kind of sector-wide move is a red flag. Support is down at 356, and then after 356 is 337. Anything on the daily under 388 is just a lower high. Clear lower high consolidation, and it closed at the low of the day, showing the bears have momentum in their favor. Weekly time frame, 337 is the absolute must hold. And again, to condense it down a little bit, here's the 2-week. There's the more clear equilibrium. High, low of consolidation, lower high, have to hold a higher low or we lose the weekly uptrend. Labs, just sideways. Pretty much just waiting for a break of 565 for a bull break or 507 for a bear break. 566 and 565 are key because the next resistance level after that, it's actually a triple top. 1, 2, 3 tops on the daily all at that level. And if we break that, we're looking up at 598. So again, another name with some nice space. Look at the bull cross of the exponential. That's already happened. Let's see if we can get this 565 break, which would be notable. And that would tell us the monthly higher low definitely has been set. Keep an eye on labs next week. NEPT. More pullback than the bulls would like to see, absolutely. It's been the kind of scenario where we've had a couple days where we're saying, okay, is this our higher low? But every single day has been a lower high 9 days in a row. So the bulls never got any follow through in a shift, and now this is the kind of setup where we are looking for support to be found, but certainly more of an equilibrium is going to be anticipated into or through August as opposed to continuation, which again, if we held this as our higher low, continuation entirely possible. Never got the follow through of the shift, so the equilibrium is more likely. Expecting a higher low compared to 471. Bulls are hoping it's formed now at 507. We have to change the hourly trend as step number 1, and that hasn't happened yet. So change the hourly trend and the daily higher low will be set and worth keeping an eye on because I do believe that we will hold the daily uptrend by holding 471. NRTH, big upper wick, bulls not really doing a whole lot. This is a red flag. To break 88 cents and get no follow through is opening up the possibility of a weekly bear flag. So daily trend change with no follow through is a red flag. If we were to break 80 cents from here, there's a couple support levels below it, but that would only increase the brightness of the red flag. Bulls have to break 89 and close strong. That's one thing missing here. On the bull breaks, we never close strong. KHRN, again, red flag just because it didn't participate in this rally at all. Support is 187 and 173. Bulls have to break 238 to prove anything to me. And anything under 238, just a lower high. So bulls not proving much. So again, congrats to the bulls. I'm focused on the USMJ sector. There is going to be opportunity on both sides of the border. APHA, we're watching for correlation to other names. Is it going to be the sector leader for the next few days, dictating the strength of the other names? How is the US MJ space, or how is the US market trading Canadian and MJ? How are they going to respond Monday to Canada being closed? And can we get bounces with follow through on these names to give the possibility of daily trend changes? That's what we're looking for into the coming week. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. It's just getting started. And we'll put out that USMJ video tomorrow morning bright and early. And we'll see if these shifts can follow through. The shifts are in the air. We need follow through. See you then. So looking at some of the perennials that I've planted over the past couple weekends, we've got some figs and some raspberries and blueberries and more raspberries. These figs are a hardy kind and they'll only end up being about 5 feet tall, more of a bush. And we'll look at some of the bigger ones here in just a second. But the process of what I did is I just dug a hole and then I took that soil and I would put it in the raised beds. So now the raised beds have a bunch of different colored soil from all over the property with different mineral makeup and all that. And so I would dig the hole, I'd put some manure in it, I'd put some organic fertilizer in there and put the plant in there, and then I would make little moats because we're on a little bit of a slope here, so I made a moat in the back of the plant where water will pool as it comes down the hill. And then in the front of the plant, I made a little moat as well, and then I lined it with rocks. So right in under here, I've got little rocks all lined up to help catch that water as it moves down the slope. And then I put some cardboard down to cover the grass up, and then covered the cardboard with wood chips on everything except for the blueberries. I used pine needles on the blueberries because as that breaks down into the soil, it adds acidity, and the blueberries like acidic soil. So we'll go look at some other ones that I did. One fig among the ornamentals. We've got this tree starting to flower as well. Still working on the raised beds. Haven't done a whole lot on those as I've been working on the perennial planting. Another couple blueberries here. One of them produces pink berries, which I've never seen before, so that'll be interesting. And this is next to the raspberries and the grapes up there. Over the winter, I'm going to cover this grass here that's overgrowing with cardboard and snuff it out, and maybe put strawberries there for next spring. And then I got 3 figs. These are going to be big trees. These are going to be 20 feet high when they fully grow. So more figs, and I used some rocks that I found from around the property, some really cool sandstone and different colors. And I put the bigger rocks, again, I did the same thing with the bigger rocks and the smaller rocks underneath the mulch to catch some of the water on this slope. And some more, did some blueberries, and then here are these small figs that we did a couple weeks ago. They're starting to get their new growth. And more blueberries, and I planted them here as there's a split in the trees, so hopefully they get enough sunlight. And I just found a hawk feather. That's that. Got a cedar swing set up. My buddy Casey helped me put that together. So a spot to hang out in front of the pond and chill with the ducks.